Before the world drowned in silence, there were giants who defied God. NEPHILIM, born from the forbidden union of the sons of God and the daughters of men. Their towering shadows ruled the earth, their voices shook the valleys, and their violence darkened creation itself. They were not myths, not fairy tales. This is the untold truth the Bible whispers, a truth that has been hidden, feared, and misunderstood for centuries. Why did these Nephilim rise with such terrifying power? Why did humanity celebrate them as heroes, while heaven wept in sorrow? Could it be that their story is more than history? That it is a mirror reflecting our own world today? No one dares to speak it out loud, but the question burns. Are we living in the days of the giants once again? In this video, you will uncover the full mystery of the Nephilim, the giants who defied God, and why their story still shakes our souls. We will explore the lineage of Cain and Seth, the forbidden unions, the rise of unstoppable giants, and the flood that silenced their roar forever. You will see why this ancient account is not just about the past. It is a divine warning for the present. As you listen, let these words heal and awaken something deep within you. Let your spirit rise with curiosity, because what you are about to hear could change the way you see power, pride, and salvation. And I want to hear from you. Do you believe the Nephilim were real beings who once walked this earth? Or do you see them as symbols of human corruption? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe so we can keep uncovering these hidden truths together. This is not just history. This is prophecy. This is the truth about the Nephilim. The line of Cain versus the line of Seth. Two paths of humanity. From the very beginning, humanity was faced with a choice, a fork in the road that would shape the destiny of generations. On one side stood the descendants of Cain, carrying the mark of rebellion, building cities, forging weapons, filling the air with music that no longer rose to heaven but fell into the dust of desire. They sought greatness without God, beauty without holiness, progress without obedience. Their streets sparkled with invention, their walls echoed with pride, their hands hammered out weapons that glittered under the sun. Yet beneath the gold and iron lay emptiness, a silence where the voice of God no longer dwelled. On the other side stood the descendants of Seth, fragile men and women who knew their weakness, who called upon the name of the Lord in trembling voices, who raised altars not of stone alone but of humble hearts. They were not as dazzling in the eyes of the world, but they carried the spark of eternal light. It was a battle between two lineages, two spiritual streams flowing through history, and every listener today stands between those streams. For how often do we, like Cain's children, chase progress, applause, and pleasure, while forgetting the still small voice that calls us back? The lesson is eternal. Human kingdoms built on pride will shine like brass for a season, but will rust into dust, while those who walk with God, even in weakness, become pillars of everlasting truth. The choice between Cain and Seth is not history alone. It is the decision in your heart right now. The first compromise. Sons of God and daughters of men. It began subtly, quietly, with admiration. The sons of God, those from the line of Seth, looked upon the daughters of men, radiant in garments embroidered with jewels, their dances sparkling like firelight, their voices laced with perfume. What started as business in the city gates became fascination. What began as curiosity became longing. Soon, holiness mingled with corruption, and the covenant of God's people was forgotten at the feast tables of Cain's children. The beauty that should have been guarded became a snare, and the hearts once set apart for worship surrendered to desire. And so the first compromise was born, small in the eyes of those who fell, but catastrophic in its consequence. How many today make the same mistake? A man of faith tempted to trade purity for a night of pleasure. A woman of devotion lured by promises of power and applause. A family choosing comfort over conviction. This is the whisper of compromise. It never appears destructive at first. It arrives disguised as delight, but it always ends in distance from God. The story of the sons of God and the daughters of men is not a forgotten tale. It is a mirror of our generation. It warns us that compromise is not just about breaking rules, it is about breaking the covenant of our souls with the one who made us. The lesson glows like fire. Purity may seem fragile, but it is stronger than any temptation when anchored in the presence of God. If Cain's line teaches us the emptiness of pride, this union teaches us the danger of mixing light with darkness. And just as their love songs became the doorway for corruption, so too our small compromises can open the floodgates of ruin. Let us not forget, the heart that flirts with sin eventually bows before it. The birth of the giants. The rise of the NEPHILIM. Out of this forbidden union came something the world had never seen before. Children of unnatural strength, towering in size, fierce in spirit. They were called the NEPHILIM, the giants who defied God. Their footsteps thundered across valleys, their arms tore down walls, their presence commanded fear. To the people they looked like heroes, legends of old mighty men whose names were carved in songs. Villages whispered about their power, mothers told their children tales of their conquests, and fathers envied their glory. Yet in heaven their names were grief, their lives a distortion of what was holy. They were not gifts of God, but scars of rebellion, and their strength was a shadow of the pride that had birthed them. Ancient cultures remembered them under different names: Hercules, Gilgamesh, Titans, men half divine and half human. But the Bible unveils the truth. They were born from disobedience, and their power was corruption dressed as greatness. What society celebrated, God condemned. And this is where the story pierces us today. How often does the world raise up its giants, celebrities, rulers, icons of strength and success, and declare them worthy of worship, while heaven weeps because behind the shine lies decay? The lesson is sharp. Not every hero is a savior, and not every legend is light. The Nephilim remind us that when humanity exalts strength without submission, beauty without purity, fame without faith, it produces monsters instead of saints. Their rise was swift, but their end was inevitable, for no tower of flesh can stand against the flood of God's justice. And as we move forward in this story, let the thought settle deep into your spirit. What kind of giants are we raising today? Giants of violence and pride, or giants of faith and courage? The answer will shape the destiny of our generation, just as it shaped the fate of theirs. Violence, pride, and corruption. The rule of the Nephilim. The world trembled under the weight of giants. The Nephilim walked like kings of the earth, towering in strength, feared by men, adored by women, worshipped as living gods. Their laughter echoed across valleys like thunder. Their feasts lit the night with fire. Their cruelty turned life into a spectacle. What began as fascination with power soon became the slavery of humanity to violence. They hunted men for sport, tore down city gates with bare hands, crushed fields beneath their feet just to prove they could. Songs were sung in their honor, yet heaven heard only the sound of blood crying out from the ground. Pride filled their hearts like poison. They believed they were eternal, untouchable, above all judgment. They declared, "We are the mighty men of old, heroes of renown. Nothing can destroy us." But every boast drew them deeper into corruption. Violence became entertainment, lust became religion, pride became law. The earth, once created as a garden of harmony, was now a battlefield drenched in fear. And is this not the reflection of our own world? When we glorify violence in movies, games, and sports without boundaries, are we not echoing the feasts of the NEPHILIM? When society crowns fame, money, and strength as the highest gods, are we not building altars to giants once more? This is the hypnotic danger of pride. It blinds the eyes, hardens the heart, and convinces humanity that it can live without God. Yet history proves the opposite. Rome once thought itself eternal, with gladiators fighting and emperors worshipped as divine. But the Colosseum now lies in ruins, silent testimony that kingdoms built on blood cannot last. The Nephilim's story is not just about ancient giants. It is a warning to every generation that power without purpose leads to ruin, and strength without holiness destroys itself. The healing lesson burns clear. True greatness is not in domination, but in humility before the Creator. The Ark of Noah, God's warning to a corrupt world. In the midst of chaos, one man stood like a candle in the storm. Noah, ordinary in the eyes of men, extraordinary in the eyes of God. While the Nephilim mocked and feasted, Noah listened to a different voice. He heard the whisper of the Almighty, "Build an ark." It sounded foolish. An ark in a dry valley, no sea in sight, no storm on the horizon. Yet with trembling hands and unshaken faith, Noah obeyed. Every strike of the hammer was a sermon, every plank of wood a prophecy, every drop of sweat a testimony that judgment was coming. Crowds gathered not to help, but to laugh. The giants scoffed, lifting their wine cups, shouting, "Look at the madman and his box of wood! Do you think your God can wash away our strength?" Their pride blinded them to mercy. They did not see that the ark was not just a vessel of wood. It was a vessel of grace, a doorway of salvation, still open for anyone willing to enter. The animals came, two by two, guided not by human hands, but by divine command. Lions walked beside lambs, doves flew above wolves. Creation itself testified that something greater was unfolding. For 7 days Noah preached mercy, but laughter drowned his words. Then the skies darkened. The first drops fell. Mockery turned to silence. Silence turned to terror. Torrents crashed from heaven. Rivers burst from the ground, and the world that thought itself unshakable was swept away. The Nephilim, once boasting as gods, clawed at mountains, begging for another breath, another chance. But it was too late. Their muscles could not fight water, their pride could not stop judgment, their names could not buy salvation. Only Noah and his family, sheltered inside the ark, carried the covenant of hope. And here lies the lesson for us, powerful and personal. God always provides an ark. In a world drowning in corruption, he offers a way of escape, not in human strength, but in faith. For Noah, it was wood and pitch. For us, it is the cross of Christ, the ultimate ark of salvation. The question is not whether judgment will come. It always does, in one form or another. The question is, will we step inside the ark, or will we laugh until the waters rise? This is not only history, it is prophecy, echoing into our age. Our world celebrates its own giants, wealth, pride, fame, but God still calls us to build altars, not empires. The healing truth is that obedience, even when mocked, is the pathway to life. The ark was a place of safety then, and it is a symbol of grace now. Will we enter? Or will we, like the NEPHILIM, choose pride over salvation? The Great Flood, judgment on the giants and mankind. The sky did not just rain, it roared. Darkness swallowed the horizon as lightning ripped across heaven like the very hand of God tearing the veil of mercy. The earth shook as fountains of water burst from its depths, roaring upward with unstoppable fury. What began as drops became torrents. What began as laughter became screams. The giants who once called themselves invincible, the NEPHILIM who ruled like gods, now clawed at rocks, their mighty arms trembling, their proud voices breaking into cries of terror. The people who once sang songs of their glory now begged for their lives. The same feasts that had mocked Noah's warnings turned into chaos as wine cups slipped from hands and drums fell silent under the pounding storm. The waters rose higher, swallowing homes, fields, and temples built to false gods. Mothers clung to children, warriors tried to fight the flood as if it were an enemy they could conquer. And the NEPHILIM, these giants of legend, staggered like broken trees in the current, their boasts shattered with every wave. Their power, their fame, their pride, none of it could resist the decree of heaven. And yet, inside the ark, there was calm. Noah's family sat in the flickering light of oil lamps, hearing the thundering chaos outside, but resting in the covenant of God's promise. Every cry that echoed beyond the wooden walls was a reminder: God's patience has a limit. His justice cannot be mocked forever. This is not just an ancient story, it is a mirror. When we build lives on pride, when we believe our own strength, wealth, or influence can shield us from judgment, we are building houses on sand before the storm. Rome, Babylon, empires that thought they would never fall, all crumbled beneath floods of their own corruption. The lesson is piercing. Human greatness without God always drowns. And yet there is healing even in judgment, because the flood was not only destruction, it was cleansing. It was God pressing reset, clearing the soil so that new life could grow. For you listening now, the question whispers like thunder. Are you building an ark of faith? Or are you dancing on the edge of rising waters? The hope of salvation, Noah and the covenant of grace. But in the midst of judgment, grace appeared. Noah found favor in the eyes of the Lord. He was not perfect, not sinless, but he chose to walk with God when the world walked away. That choice saved not only him, but his family, and through them, the future of humanity. The ark was more than wood and pitch. It was a prophecy of something greater. Just as Noah entered the ark and was carried above the waters of death, we are called to enter Christ, the true ark of salvation, and rise above the flood of sin and despair. Picture the scene, the floodwaters finally settling, the ark resting on Mount Ararat, the silence after chaos. Noah stepping out, breathing air cleansed by judgment, standing on ground washed new. The rainbow stretched across the sky, a covenant painted in colors of hope, declaring that mercy would walk hand in hand with justice. That bow in the clouds still speaks to us. God is not eager to destroy, he longs to save. Every sunrise is a reminder that grace is still extended. Every breath you take is proof that mercy still waits. And so, the story of the Nephilim, the giants who defied God, is not just about their downfall, it is about our choice. Will we repeat their pride, or will we embrace Noah's humility? Will we chase strength that perishes, or will we enter the ark of eternal salvation? The healing truth is that no matter how dark the world becomes, no matter how strong the giants seem, there is always a covenant, always a rainbow, always a way back to the Creator. And now, I ask you, do you see yourself more in the crowds who mocked or in the man who built? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Your perspective might awaken someone else's faith. If this message touched your soul, hit like, subscribe, and let's spread these hidden truths so that more hearts can find the ark before the waters rise again. The story of the Nephilim is more than an ancient tale. It is a mirror that reflects our deepest struggles and our greatest hopes. Once there were giants who defied God, men of renown, worshipped by crowds, feared by nations, celebrated as invincible. Yet their names, carved in stone and sung in songs, vanished beneath the flood. Their strength could not save them. Their fame could not shield them. Their pride could not stand against the judgment of heaven. And this is where the lesson pierces us. Every generation raises its giants, but only those who walk with God endure. Think about the world we live in today. Giants still walk among us, not in towering bodies, but in the form of wealth, power, technology, pride, corruption. We celebrate influencers, leaders, and idols as if they were immortal. But heaven still whispers that no giant is greater than God. The Bible reminds us that Noah found grace in the eyes of the Lord, and that grace carried him through the waters of destruction. That same grace still flows for you and me. Close your eyes and imagine the ark rocking gently above the flood, the sound of rain still pounding, and the cries outside fading into silence. Inside, one family breathes in the promise of tomorrow. That ark was more than a refuge. It was a prophecy, a foreshadow of Christ, the true ark who carries us above the waters of despair. Just as Noah and his family stepped out onto new ground, you too are invited to step onto the soil of a new beginning. No matter how high the waters of pain, shame, or fear have risen around you, there is always a rainbow waiting on the other side. This covenant is not history alone. It is a living reality that heals, restores, and calls us back to purpose. But here is where the story touches the soul most deeply. The choice is still ours. Will we live like the Nephilim, chasing strength, power, and fleeting glory? Or will we live like Noah, choosing faith, humility, and obedience, This is not just about the past. It is about you, right now. Maybe your heart is carrying battles no one else sees. Maybe you've been building walls of pride instead of altars of surrender. Maybe you feel the flood rising in your own life. Loneliness, fear, anxiety, uncertainty. The healing truth is that you are not alone and you are not without hope. The same God who painted the rainbow across the sky still paints promises across your future. The same grace that saved Noah still waits for you with open arms. And I want to ask you, what do you think about the Nephilim? Were they real giants who walked this earth, or were they symbols of corruption and pride? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because your voice could awaken someone else's perspective. Let this be more than a video. Let it be a conversation, a community where truth is explored and hearts are healed. And if this story touched you, if it gave you light in the middle of your darkness, I invite you to like this video, subscribe to this channel, and share it with someone who needs hope. When you engage, you are not just supporting a channel, you are sending out ripples of healing. You are helping these messages reach souls who are searching for meaning. Every time you comment, every time you share, every time you let this message flow beyond yourself, you are becoming part of something bigger. You are becoming part of the ark that carries light into a world drowning in noise. And if you feel that this video brought value to your soul or gave you strength to stand in the middle of your own storm, I welcome you to support this journey with a little energy of your own. Even the smallest act of encouragement is priceless, and it allows me to keep creating, keep sharing, and keep shining these truths that the world so often tries to bury. Thank you with all my heart, because together we are not just telling stories, we are building faith, one voice at a time. Remember, the giants fell, but grace remained. The flood came, but the ark endured. The rainbow still stretches across the sky, declaring that hope will always outshine despair. So as you leave this video, carry the lesson of the Nephilim with you. Pride will always sink, but faith will always rise. And may your life, like Noah's, be marked not by fear of judgment, but by the beauty of God's covenant. You were not made to drown in the noise of this world. You were made to stand on higher ground, to walk with the Creator, and to shine as a living reminder that no giant, no flood, no darkness can overcome a heart that belongs to Him. Now it is your turn. What giants are you facing in your own life, and how will you overcome them? Let your answer echo below, and let us rise together as a generation that chooses faith over fear, grace over pride, and eternal light over fleeting shadows.